Hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of The Incredible Hoax. I am Mark Hoke, writer, composer, movie enthusiast, joined by...
Chris Hoke, writer, director, editor, movie enthusiast, father, husband, lover. Anyway.
Hey, you had an exciting weekend with the debut of Cowboy and Lucky. I think that was pretty exciting.
We had nothing but compliments and nothing but people saying they really liked it, and some people saying can't wait for the next ones, and so on and so on. So
cool.
I'd just say if anybody out there watched it and they're watching this, I'd say that was more of a taste, and it just gets better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
So just stay tuned.
I certainly applaud your efforts writing the scripts and editing, and now you're directing quite a few of the episodes you've done. Of course, Chris and Russ deserve applause as well. So that's just exciting. So I just hope that people just...
it's a good time for all of us.
Yeah.
It's a good time to be you. Good time to be me.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
I'm just kind of just on that thought. It's just a good time for people just to dig in. If you missed that, if you were the one person that did miss the debut,
shame on you.
Well, while there is a shame on you, the second episode is a good place to jump in. You won't be lost. It's a perfect place to pick up.
Yeah.
And get into the action. You won't be lost or anything. I've seen it myself, so I can vouch that you will not be lost. You'll be able to know exactly what's going on.
You've seen 5 of the first 6.
Yeah. Yes.
And we finished the 5th one. You've not seen, but it's done. I don't have a copy here, so you can't see it. But anyway, would you agree that it ascends? I mean, it starts with the gold rush, and it just gets better and better as it goes.
Oh yeah, Lord, yeah. You're talking in terms of characterization, the quality of
depth,
the depth of the characters. I mean, everything is just refined. The action gets refined.
Yeah.
The camera movements. Just the editing. I mean, just the whole product. It just gets more refined as it goes on.
Well, let's talk about the pilots for just a second here.
Okay.
Just a little. We did it behind the scenes.
If you'll indulge just for a second.
Well, we did it behind the scenes episode last week, but we'll say this and then we'll move on.
Right.
But we had 2 ways we could go with the pilot. You could go one where it's really character driven and really analyze, it really sits with the characters and takes its time with that. Or with the pilot, you can just come out and just boom, have action and just excite everything.
Right.
Make everything exciting. And we shot one of each, and we have to go with exciting. So my point in saying it is the first one, the Gold Rush the episode that just aired called The Gold Rush. The characters, there's not a lot of depth of characterization. There's not a lot of background. It's more about an action piece.
Right.
Well, that's by design. That's by design to say, okay, here we are, boom, we're here. Now the series starts adding layers, starting with the second one and building up of more depth to the characters, finding out more who they are, what they're about, and the complexity of the world around them and whatnot. So my point in saying all this is if you like the first one, it's just going to get better. If you thought it was okay, wanted to see more, it's just going to get better. And the few of you out there who didn't like it, keep watching because it gets better. They get deeper, richer, a whole lot more. I think that's the best way to put it. They just get deeper and richer as it goes.
I totally agree with that. One of the things I felt bad that I didn't mention this in our review last week about the debut, the pilot episode. The chemistry between Chris and Russ is it really works. It sings. I mean, they really have
Yeah.
good chemistry and good rapport on screen, and that was
Yeah.
the one thing that I failed to mention. So I apologize for that. But I did. But since I had an opportunity to sneak that in, well, there you go.
Yeah, we've been lucky that no pun intended, but we've been lucky that we have had casts that have had chemistry and have gelled and have found ways to make a cohesive cast, for lack of a better way to put it.
Right.
I mean, we've been just really lucky. We haven't had any oddball, type situations where a character just wasn't gelling, wasn't working. So we were really fortunate, and stay tuned. Stay tuned.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. I certainly encourage everyone to do that.
Yeah.
We're a movie talk show,
Right.
And before we kind of get into kind of the potluck that is this episode, it's going to kind of miscellaneous things. I kind of want to have a quick vent before we get anything.
Go for it.
They are Warner Brothers is going to reboot Superman
Again.
and Zack Snyder is going to direct. He did 300 and Watchmen, so I have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
What annoys me is they so miscast Lois Lane the last time.
Yeah.
I figured out over the weekend who they should. And it's obvious when I say her name, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's obvious." So here we go.
Okay.
For some reason, last year we helped Warner Brothers with two great ideas. We had the Josh Brolin and the Dirty Harry remake, and we just keep giving Warner Brothers all these great ideas.
Yeah, we forgot we said that. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be freaking awesome, actually.
We keep giving Warner Brothers for some reason all these great ideas.
Yeah.
So here's their freebie for 2011, and this is all you get.
And I haven't heard this. I have no idea what he's
Yeah. So he may hear it and go, I'm full of it. But here we go. Lois Lane, Anne Hathaway. There you go. That's a freebie. There you go, Warner Brothers. You know her number. Call her. Get it done.
That doesn't grab me.
Really?
It doesn't grab me.
I know they want to. Of course, they'll want to use the younger stars, and the thing that they did with Superman Returns was they're like, well, we need to put a modern spin. Women have, we're kind of like in a post-feminism world and so forth. So the woman needs to reflect some of that. I'm like, well, then you missed the point of Lois Lane. Lois Lane was ahead of her time. That character, she was very much a feminist and independent.
She was ballsy.
Yeah, she was feisty, ballsy, as you say, incredibly smart. She had that kind of spunk to her.
Yeah.
Well, then they cast Kate Bosworth, who was grossly miscast.
She's boring. She was so boring as Lois Lane.
But that's the kind of thing they thought. Well, she is more of like that kind of Gen Y, that Generation Y kind of actress. That kind of represents that generation. I'm like, well, but the story, if you're doing the Superman story, the Lois Lane character is already set. You know what you've got to do. Now, if you then try to redo it and then totally rewrite the way Lois Lane is, then she's not Lois Lane, and people will not connect with her. So that's what they try to do with Superman Returns. Well, we'll make her more reflective of a 2000s kind of young woman, and it didn't work. You don't connect with her at all.
But what about Anne Hathaway says that she would be the Lois Lane you expect? Because Margot Kidder was perfect.
Yeah, she was perfect.
Margot Kidder was absolutely dead on perfect. So what about Anne Hathaway? Because it's not grabbing me.
Really?
No, not at all.
Well, I think she has the feistiness. When you think of her performance in The Devil Wears Prada,
I'd take her as feisty in that. She was.
Well, the whole thing, if you remember, in Margot Kidder's Lois Lane was
she was tenacious.
She was wanting to be the top reporter and have that kind of that inner drive.
Yeah.
Well, that character needs it. Anne Hathaway has done roles where she has that inner drive, and she hasn't done a role specifically that's Lois Lane. But I think if you're looking at actresses in the age range to do a reboot that's like in their 20s and that's a major star, I mean, you're not going to put Reese Witherspoon in that role or Drew Barrymore or somebody like that. And even then, if you even go younger,
I know who I would pick.
Okay.
If I was casting it, it would be Elizabeth Banks, the chick from Zack and Miri, and what else has she been in? She was in that Russell Crowe movie.
Yeah, was it The Next 3 Days?
Yeah.
I know. That would not be a bad pick at all. That would be fine.
Yeah.
I could live with that.
I would go Elizabeth Banks just because she's all the things we talked about Lois Lane can be, and she's also more physically dominating than what's her name? I draw a blank now. Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway's kind of she's like so tiny and so petite to me. She comes across that way.
Yeah, but
not very physical at all.
Well, her role didn't have to be.
Well, but I understand what you mean by that.
Okay.
My point is, but movies are a visual thing, and so if Elizabeth Banks, I think, comes off way more physical, and that translates all those characters, or all those characteristics rather, that you want in Lois Lane. I think somebody like Elizabeth Banks, who's quite a bit more physical, would visually carry that across a whole lot easier and better than Anne Hathaway. I don't think Anne Hathaway's a terrible pick. It's not the aha that I think it is to you. To you, I think it was sort of an aha moment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and to me, it's like, nah.
Well, all right. The best way I know to tell you why I think it's an aha moment is if you're familiar with His Girl Friday, the film from the late 30s, Rosalind Russell, and she's talking really fast and a really fast screwball comedy, and she's like a reporter. Of the two actresses, Hathaway or Banks, who could pull off a Rosalind Russell type? Which that role is very much a model for Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Of the two actresses, Hathaway is closer to Rosalind Russell than Banks.
I guess so.
I mean, I'm just trying to give you a physical example of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, this doesn't work for me.
Well, that's interesting. I thought that would. To me, folks, it was like aha.
Yeah.
And,
well, like Josh Brolin as Dirty Harry is an aha moment.
Yeah.
That is like, oh God, that's a good idea.
I want to see that movie.
Yeah, I'd see it. I want to see it yesterday.
That was one of their two freebies from last year. What
was the other one?
I'll have to think about that.
Okay. But I don't know. I mean, but then again, Heath Ledger wasn't an aha for me either as the Joker. I mean, it's not like when somebody told me Heath Ledger's playing the Joker, I went, really? Well, in hindsight, now it's like, oh my God, he's like the...
Yeah, now we go, well, of course.
He's one of the greatest villains ever, and like Jack Nicholson doesn't even come close to what Heath Ledger did with the Joker. But when I first heard it, I was like, well, okay, I guess.
When I first heard it, I was like, well, that just seems like totally away from everything he's ever done. You know, is what you're thinking. It's like he hasn't really done anything to suggest he could do this role.
Yeah.
Of course, he's now, most people will agree, he's like, his role was the epitome of the screen version of Joker.
Well, what he did was he made the Joker now as an untouchable role.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain roles now that you just can't ever do again.
Yeah.
And the Joker now has become one because no one will ever live up to what he did ever.
Well, at least for about 20 years, you know, it'll take a while. Well, the same thing.
I don't know, man. It's kind of like.
Well, I think that was part of
the Citizen Kane of superhero.
Well, we were talking about
movies now.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were talking about Superman. That's also another thing. Christopher Reeve he's so known in that role.
Yeah.
That's like blasphemy. It's like, what?
Well, yeah,
Christopher
Reeve.
Reeve.
Like Marlon Brando, The Godfather. Nobody else is.
Yeah.
The Godfather. Now I know Robert De Niro played him younger. I'm talking about at the point of life that.
When he was actually the Godfather.
Yeah, when Marlon Brando played him, that's it. It can't be anybody else. You can't remake it. Or nothing else.
Yeah, why would?
But then again, I would have said that about True Grit. They remade that one, so much for what I know.
Yeah.
What do I know about it?
Well, anyway, that ended up being a pretty big tangent. I thought that'd be like 1 minute tops.
All right, so.
All right. We have mentioned on this show before, you're a big fan of Brittany Daniel.
Yes, I am.
And I happened to stumble across...
She's a fine actress. I don't know what you were playing. Oh, wait, you weren't playing anything. I just assumed.
Yeah,
Never mind.
I haven't started yet. Okay.
She was magnificent in Joe Dirt.
A lot of people don't know this, but she actually has a twin.
I did not know this until you showed me the list just
Yeah.
a few minutes ago.
I'm going to just rattle off just a few names. Just find it interesting.
So this is stuff people at work, if they've watched the show, they can go around the water cooler. They go, hey, did you know that such and such has a twin? And they're like, no, really? Yeah. So there's such and such. And you come off all smart, possibly win bar bets, might pick up a chick. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Just utilize it.
Right.
Yeah,
well, Brittany Daniels, she has a sister, Cynthia.
Cynthia Daniels.
Yeah. And then there's John Heder. He played the role of Napoleon Dynamite. He's got a brother, Dan. Who knew?
There's two of them out there.
So there's two of them out there.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson has a twin brother, Hunter.
Wouldn't it be funny if he was like ugly?
Oh yeah, because she's known as like
she's like so hot.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you know.
Well, it'd be like Bowfinger, you know. I had Eddie Murphy playing the two roles, and the one brother was like really, amazing. The other was kind of all nerdy. Giovanni Ribisi, you know him, don't you? From
yes, of course.
Avatar was his most recent film.
Private
Ryan, Sky Captain. He has a role in there as the inventor.
Right.
He has a twin sister, Marissa. I thought that was interesting.
A
sister.
Twin sister.
Now I know you're not a big fan of Vin Diesel. And
nope.
I like Vin Diesel. He has a twin, Paul. Twin brother Paul.
I wonder if he has talent.
See, I just set him up, let you just knock it out. Well, and for the classic era fans out there, Montgomery Clift actually had a twin sister, Roberta.
Yeah. Which you could make the argument that they were both twin sisters.
Nice. Very funny.
People had to go research Montgomery Clift.
Yeah.
If you know about Montgomery Clift, well, never mind.
Right. Then you already got the joke.
Yeah.
Of course, Linda Hamilton, everybody knows she had a twin, Leslie. They used her for shooting in the T2.
Yeah. If you don't know that one, then shame on you.
Yeah, they should know that. That's a gimme. Ashton Kutcher has a fraternal brother, Michael,
who's got some kind of health problem or another. I saw special on him one time.
And the last one, Kiefer Sutherland, he's the big star of 24, and they're going to try to do the movie version here soon, has a twin sister, Rachel.
Rachel Sutherland.
So, isn't that interesting?
And their dad is Donald.
Donald Sutherland.
All right, but say this one, though. I know he says the last one, but do that one, because that one's weird. I just find that one weird.
Billy D. Williams, most people know him as Lando from Empire Strikes Back, actually does have a twin sister, Loretta.
So, Lando has a twin sister. I wonder if she has the Force. Because Darth Vader almost killed Luke to get Leia because she had the Force. So he could have really just killed Lando and got Wanda Calrissian. She had the Force. Anyway, I digress.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know.
Wanda Calrissian.
But that's that list.
He just moved on from it.
Yeah, I think we're dying out there in movie land.
Too bad we don't have a studio audience that tell us where we suck.
They're like, yeah, it's like you're.
All right.
A quick thing on stage names, because I've been sitting on this for a while. Let's knock this thing out. Take a minute to do this.
That whole list?
No. I'm just gonna take.
Oh.
I'm just gonna take a few. I'm not gonna do all this, folks. You just do that on your own.
Heaven.
I know.
People need to we need a pamphlet that comes out in every episode.
I promise I will not do all 70. Okay, well, I'll just pick out 7. How's that?
All right.
My favorite one is what we're going to do now is a list on stage names and what their real names are.
Stage name versus real name.
Right. Okay. You know what Michael Douglas? Excuse me. I ruined it. Michael Keaton's stage name. That's his stage name.
Michael Keaton. That's
not
his
Michael
real name.
Keaton. Not his real name. His real name is Michael Douglas. I thought that was funny.
Really?
Well,
see, that's the thing. See, I think it is
Michael John Douglas. So he had to change his name.
I think is it the SAG, or there's some entity to do with acting that they can't. And I think maybe it might be SAG, and it might be even like the Directors Guild. You can't have actors with the same name. So, for instance, like Michael J. Fox is not Michael J. Fox. It's actually like Michael A. Fox.
Yeah, something. Yeah, right.
But there was already a Michael A. Fox, so he had to change his name. So he made it Michael J. Fox.
Right.
And so I bet that's what it is. There was already Michael Douglas, so he had to be Michael Keaton.
Yeah, he actually. Now, where did he get the Keaton folks? Diane Keaton.
Because he liked her?
Yeah. At the time, she had, was in those Woody Allen movies. He thought that was a good name, so he went with it. All right, Natalie Portman. She's getting all the news lately. Her stage name, of course, Natalie Portman, but her real name, Natalie.
It's Goldstein. I'm just joking.
It's not.
She is Jewish, but it's not Goldstein.
Next time I print this thing, I'm gonna print it way bigger.
Yeah, that you kind of did yourself a disservice.
I know. I'm like, good God, and the lights on her, everything. Here we go. Natalie Hirschlag.
See, I told you she's Jewish.
Well, we knew she was Jewish. Some of these are fun.
We haven't found any of them yet, but I'm just.
Well, all right, John Wayne. That's famous. His stage name is John Wayne.
Let me guess.
Okay.
It's Marion Francis, or Francis Marion. Marion.
It's Marion Morrison.
I knew it was Marion something.
But you were in the ballpark.
Marion Morrison is the Duke.
So one of the most famous also is Cary Grant's. That's his stage name. Now, what's his real name is Archibald Leach. That just rolls right off the tongue, don't it? Archibald Leach.
Wow.
That's his, yeah. One of my favorites also. A lot of people may not remember him, but he was a 50s.
Archibald Leach kind of sounds like the nose tackle for the Steelers or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like the assistant quarterback coach for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, right. But anyway, what were you saying?
There was a 50s screen star named Stuart Granger. That's his stage name. His real name, James Stewart.
Really? Again, that was taken already.
I was like, well, shit.
It was taken.
If you're like, crap.
It was taken.
One of the great actors of all time. It's already taken.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'll be like the new James. Like, no, I think
there can only be one.
He's still going, man. He just did Rear Window.
Wow.
What's he doing next? Vertigo. That won't be nothing. But yeah, sure. Anyway, that's enough silliness there.
Yeah.
Okay. As we wrap this show up, I knew this was going to be a weird episode. We were just going to be all over the map.
Well, see, we've done 2 movie review episodes back to back.
Yeah.
And we haven't watched anything. And so we had nothing to review. We already even reviewed Cowboy Lake. Couldn't even review that. We already reviewed that one.
And all of my energies, because sometimes I'll try to come up with this. We had that rapid fire with all these interesting questions, and gave fruit to all these interesting topics and conversation. Well, my energies for the last 2 weeks has gone to this top 25 bizarre moments in Hollywood history,
which we'll get to now.
Which let's segue into that now.
All right.
All my energies have gone to this so much lately that I was ill prepared for, frankly, the meat of the show. But we got through it.
All right. To set this up, the
yes.
25 most bizarre moments in Hollywood history. All right. He's compiled a list of the 25 most bizarre moments in Hollywood history. So instead of doing 25 all at once in one show and just exhausting the living crap out of you and us, We're going to
and us, yes,
we're going to give you one or two every week.
right.
Let's just see how long we talk about them, whether it's one or two.
Yeah.
And we'll just start with 25 and count down. So, today's 25th most bizarre moment in Hollywood history is...
Okay. Number 25. The Riddle of Arthur B. Travin.
I have no idea what this is.
All right. The author, B. Travin, wrote the novel The Treasure of Sierra Madre. And, of course, they made one of the great movies ever, frankly.
Yeah,
John Huston directed it. Humphrey Bogart is outstanding. It came out in 1948. The Treasure of Sierra Madre. That was one of his novels. Well, in this day and age, where if you write something, a screenwriter, you want credit for it. Mm-hmm. You want your name on there. And there's times where a script will it'll come out, and then other writers will then rewrite it, and then there's this argument of who gets credit.
Right.
With that being said, that's why this story is so bizarre. Here's a guy who spent his entire adult life, or the majority of it, writing stuff and sending it anonymously. I mean, he was using this pen name, B. Travin. Mm-hmm. People to this day still don't know who he is. There's a couple of theories. One of them was that he was a German writer who, because of his political leanings, basically he almost got sentenced to death by the German Reich during World War I. So he went, basically, he managed to elude them. He makes his way to Mexico, but he still wants to write and make a living.
Right.
So he found a way, some European publishers, he could still send his stuff. He adopted the pen name B. Travin, and for the rest of his life, he was able to do this. Mm-hmm. But it's just strange nowadays. If you write something, people want the credit.
Right.
And here's a guy that was like, no, I don't want people to know who I am, because they had media and investigators try to hunt this guy down, and he would always seem to elude them. Even though there was an assistant, and I put that in quotes, that eventually, when he died, his widow said, "Yeah, that's he wasn't really the assistant. That was B. Travin." Right. But there's some people that question whether that's all. There's doubts there, but it is interesting, and that's. It'll get. There's better ones as we move on, but
we're the only show on I think out there that says we know this one kind of sucks,
but yes,
the trust it gets better.
It does.
We'll do number 24.
All right, number 24 is.
Let's go on a high note.
Yes, the last written words from Walt Disney was Kurt Russell.
And why is this?
They don't know. He got a piece of paper, a scribbled piece of paper. He was dying from lung cancer, I believe it was. Yeah. And one of the last things he wrote on paper, he writes Kurt Russell's name, and they even asked Kurt Russell about it. Do you know what the message he was trying to send you? Not a clue. But the irony is, Walt Disney was known for being a forward thinker, always thinking what's around the horizon, finding the new technologies. Kurt Russell, after Walt Disney's death, went on to be their top star for the next decade.
Really?
So, was that scribbled piece of paper his prediction?
That's funny.
So I think that's certainly bizarre, I think.
That is bizarre. I mean, when was Kurt Russell like a big teen star? What, 60s?
Yeah, no, it was really the early and mid 70s. That was,
okay.
Yeah, the computer wore tennis shoes, things like that.
Because he was kind of like the Zac Efron of then, right?
That's a good.
Okay, but we grew up. I mean, I remember some 70s movies. I remember Star Wars and whatnot. But for the most part, I grew up in the 80s. You know, even though I was born in 76, I pretty much remember the 80s more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kurt Russell to me has always been Snake Plissken, and has always been what's his face from Big Trouble in Little China?
Jack Burton.
Jack Burton.
Me.
And it's funny to think that Kurt Russell to a whole other generation is like this Zac Efron guy. You know, I look at Zac Efron and I'm like, he's just some teen star. You know, I don't really consider him. You know, I don't dislike him. I just don't consider him. Sort of dismiss him. So it's funny that Kurt Russell, probably there's some old guy out there like, he's just some stupid teen star. Like, no, that's Snake Plissken. He's cool. Anyway.
Well, and it's
Disney saw through all that.
Yeah, it's ironic too that, you know, as his career, as he thought that he was getting to an age where being an action star, it just would look wrong for him to do it at a certain age. Mm-hmm. So he kind of was segueing into more dramatic pieces and family films. I mean, his last few films were like Disney movies, like Sky High and The Miracle.
Right.
And I just find that interesting. It's like, that's kind of like where he started, and then now he says, you know, he's basically indicated that he's retired. He starts at Disney, and it's like he ends at Disney. I thought that was interesting. The full circle.
Yeah. The circle is now complete.
The circle is now complete. Okay. Well, as we go along, each week we'll let loose out of those a couple at a time.
That's right. So, quote of the week now.
Quote of the week.
Or we do videos first. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we do movie rental first.
All right, we'll do your movie rental thing.
My movie rental for this week is it's the new year, new beginnings. Check out JCVD. The film JCVD.
I still haven't caught that one myself.
It is a wonderful dramatic thriller. It stars, of all people, Jean-Claude Van Damme in his greatest performance. He basically is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and there's basically a hostage situation. These bank robbers have taken over, and he ends up going to the bank needing cash desperately. Wrong place, wrong time. They see a celebrity, and they see a chance to help their situation by taking a celebrity hostage, and things just really get interesting from there. It's interesting how so much of his soul just is like pours out in this movie, and also the timeline. It jumps around a bit, like a movie like Memento or like Reservoir Dogs. It's not done in a linear fashion, so it kind of skips around. So that'll keep you on your toes, but it is excellent. It's a film that came out in 2008, and so it's not that old. It's pretty recent, but it's certainly worth your time. And one of the themes really is kind of assessing where you are in your life and starting over. That's apropos for New Year.
Right. Well, I'm going to do a late Christmas one, sort of.
Okay.
It's one I didn't think of when we're doing Christmas stuff, and I thought of it later. I was like, that would be a great one. John Wayne, The Three Godfathers, especially with True Grit and all, is a big hit. People think about John Wayne. Three Godfathers.
Yeah.
Basically, the story of three outlaws rob a bank, go to the desert. They happen to cross a woman having a baby. She dies. They take on the baby, and they promise they'll take care of him. And they basically have to risk life and limb through the desert to save this baby. And it's allegorical to the Christ story, and they're the three Godfathers and everything else. And it's actually a remake of an older version called Three God from the 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
But anyway, check it out, Three Godfathers. It's a late Christmas movie suggestion, but it's not a Christmas movie, but it's a Christmas movie. You know, kind of like Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, but it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing. Three Godfathers. If you're on a True Grit John Wayne kick right now, Three Godfathers. I did Big Jake last week, so.
Yeah, you're getting.
Yeah, we're getting
two really good ones.
Two really good John Wayne.
Yeah.
And a little overlooked. Big Jake's pretty popular, but Three Godfathers gets lost in the shuffle. And it shouldn't, because it's like brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it kind of gets ignored, but it should get more attention.
No, way more. I mean, it's a little. It comes from that era of filmmaking, like Frank Capra's. It's a little bit optimistic, I guess. I don't know. It's not really optimistic. What's that word I'm looking for?
You're saying that it didn't have like the edge of like the.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not a dark film.
It's not a bitter, sarcastic movie like we're used to today. You know, just like Capra's movies were wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and optimistic. I wouldn't call Three Godfathers optimistic, but it's compared to today's movies, it's somewhat. It doesn't have the cynicism. It's not cynical. It's not sarcastic.
Yeah, and I think that's really the best way to say it. It's absent of today's cynicism.
Yeah.